Welcome back to the SSL Family Dad channel. We are here in the kitchen today and we're going to dig into a little plumbing project and show you a few things, a few problems that we're trying to solve along the way. So let me show you what we have and what we're digging into today. So underneath the sink here in this old 70s homestead, I guess you could say, there's a few problems. And we've got a little water drop water purifier down here. This is just complete mess. There's a giant hole cut in here. I'm assuming they had some issues with the plumbing at some point, and they must have fixed something or redid something here. So there's a huge hole cut. The valve is actually set down below the floor of the cabinet here, so I can't just put a new piece of plywood in. A lot of this plumbing is just a disaster. We've got a copper coming up to a T here, which a horizontal T I don't really like, capped off. We've got an old saddle valve here that was for probably a refrigerator tap or something at some point that's not being used. Then we go from copper to plastic, and a plastic fitting that doesn't go anywhere, a valve, and then this goes up to the rest of our hookups there for our actual sink and for this water purifier. And same thing on the hot water side here. We've got just kind of a valve sit on top of a bent piece of pipe. So I want to clean this up. I want to kind of redo this. So we're going to take all this out. I also have a new rubber flange for the disposer here. And hopefully I can fix up some of this piping as well. And I also have another issue that has really been driving us nuts. So whenever we run our dishwasher, it has this some type of a feature, I guess, where it pulsates. It's jets of water hit the dishes in the dishwasher, and it pulsates. So you've got a valve in there that's turning on and off very rapidly, and this causes what's called water hammer. It can happen in any valve, any faucet or shower or anything like that. When you turn the valve off, the water is flowing through, and then you put a stop to that water. It kind of reverberates. The pressure stops suddenly and it reverberates back through, especially long runs of copper piping. This house, built in the 70s, has a lot of long runs of copper piping, and they weren't secured, or the clamps fell off or something somewhere in the ceiling or walls of the house. And when this thing runs, you know it. You can hear it throughout the whole house. It bangs. Can you hear that? So this is actually in the lower level of the house, one of the walls where you can hear the banging fairly loudly, but you can hear it all over the house. So that's definitely a problem we need to fix as we're in here also. And I don't know if we're going to be able to get rid of this 100%. I think we may end up having to tear into a wall or ceiling at some point to re-secure the pipes that are banging. But water hammer arresters or water hammer preventers can help with this kind of thing. So we're going to install some of those as well. So the plan is this. We'll cut the pipes off below the floor. We'll add a coupler. We'll add some new valves. I'll talk a little bit about these after we get these installed, of why I like these over the gate valves. And then we'll throw a T in there. We've got our water hammer arresters. We'll have two of those, one on cold, one on hot. And then we have our regular little 3/8 appliance connector valve. This is a quarter turn valve. And then we have a splitter here if we need it. I think we do need it on at least one of them to hook up our water purifier and then the dishwasher and the sink. So let's take this out to the shop, and we can get the majority of this all put together out in the shop, which is a little easier to get to. And then all we'll need to do is just solder these into place once we're done. All right, I know somebody's thinking it out there. Why are you going through all this trouble of soldering all these things when you could just use PEX and PEX fittings and shark bite fittings and all these other things? So here's my advice to everyone, I guess. This is just my personal opinion. I'm not a huge fan of using plastic. I don't like to use CPVC anywhere I can use copper. I don't like to use PEX anywhere I can use copper. Now there are certain circumstances where I think PEX is great. If you're, large or long runs or through a ceiling where you can't get in there, or other, places, I think PEX is wonderful. But I generally like to use copper. It's been a while, so don't judge my soldering. It's been a while since I've soldered, but this is not a difficult thing to learn, a technique to learn. I have a video that I actually went through all the things that you would need to solder and how to solder. It's not extremely difficult, but this copper pipe is not going to go bad. It can flex, it can bend, it can expand, it can contract. These solder fittings or solder joints, if I've done it well, they should last, the life of the house. I mean, this is not going to go bad. The way that this works is when you heat up this fitting, I usually heat from the bottom, and it pulls that solder all the way in around this whole piece of pipe into this fitting, all the way up to about the center here. So you've got a solid metal contact, metal weld almost, all the way in and all the way around. And so it's a solid joint there. So I would much rather use solder over anything else, any other kind of shark bite fittings or compression fittings. So I do have just some of the basic tools here. Again, I did a whole video on this I'll link to, but I am using a wet rag here to try to wrap the valve and keep the valve cooled down as quickly as possible. There are some seals in here that I don't want to melt. I don't want to wreck. And so you want to try to heat this up as quick as possible, get that solder done, and then cool this down. That's usually what I've done, and I've never had an issue. Another question that I'll answer right now is, why am I using this ball valve instead of a gate valve? Well, gate valves are garbage. I hate gate valves. Gate valves would be the little twist ones, and it actually, as you twist the knob on the top, it pushes a gate down into a seal on the inside of the bottom of the pipe, or the fitting here, the valve. So it seats down at the bottom. Well, what happens is there's a rubber seal at the top here. You got so much travel that thing needs to make up and down. You end up, those seals go bad. You end up getting leaks. The gate valves don't generally seal quite as well. So this is a much better type of a valve. As you turn it, the ball completely seals in there. It's sealed all the way around, and it's sealed, it's a much better seal. So you don't get any bypass or leak pass or anything like that with these. As far as I know, these are actually, there's also a seal in the top of these that I think you can replace. I think you can take this off and actually replace the seal if the seal at the top here goes bad, but I've actually never had that happen with these types of valves. So ball valves, much better. I would use these everywhere. They're a little more expensive, but it's a much nicer valve. What are you eating? So we'll get the rest of this put together. We'll get the other one soldered up here, and then I'll actually put the T's on, the valves on, and the hammer arrestor or hammer prevention. All this is it's an empty piece of pipe that has a little bit of a larger tube on the top, and as far as I understand it, these just basically keep an air gap in here. So it just creates a little bit of compression, so that water hammer has a place to compress into the pipe, into this air pocket, rather than rattling the pipes, because that water, it's like hydraulic pressure. When you turn a valve off, it has nowhere to go, so it shocks back into the pipe. So anyway, we'll get this all put together, and then we'll go turn the water off and cut the old pipes off. So everything turned out pretty good. A few things that didn't turn out as planned. I ended up having to turn that valve because the drain was in the way of how I put that together. There's really not a lot I could do about that. So I had this vision of then the valves being nice and square and perfect and one coming out each side. And then this one ended up being higher because I noticed I had a bunch of extra slack in the pipe. It had fallen down in there, and after I had cut it and soldered this on there, I was wiggling around. It wasn't actually bent, it was just it had fallen in there at an angle, and so I pulled it up to straighten it out, and it ended up being different height. So it is what it is, but everything turned out pretty good. It's working well, and we've got a nice new shelf in here so things won't fall down through to the drywall below, and we'll get some silicone in here and just seal around all these pipes just to make sure that everything's nice and tidied up, but it's much better than it was. Well, there you have it. The under the sink renovation is completed. Everything's kind of buttoned up down there and redone, and we got that nice new cupboard floor, I guess you could say, so we can actually put things in there now and they won't fall down into the hole, which actually fell down to the drywall ceiling down below. And so it's much nicer, and no more water hammer. We've run the dishwasher and turned faucets on and off and everything, and it's nice and quiet. There's no more banging pipes and no more loud noises throughout the whole house. Another thing that's been bothering me since we moved in here. So hopefully that helps somebody out who's looking, maybe have the same problem, maybe have something similar. And again, like I said at the beginning, this can happen even when you just turn water on and off. It doesn't have to be like a dishwasher or a washing machine or something like that, but generally those are common appliances that are going to cause this kind of a quick changes in pressure, and you can get that pipe banging. So don't forget to hit thumbs up on today's video if you enjoyed. Thanks for stopping by. If this is your first time here, I'd love to have you subscribe and tag along. And for those of you longtime subscribers, make sure you look down there and check that little bell. It'll tell you whether you have notifications turned on or off. Make sure you have them turned on so that you get notified when we post new content. So as always, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one.